The other suggestion I have is to just notice what I call the breadcrumbs of joy. That 1 degree compass change doesn't feel like much, but it's the thing that starts you down a whole different trajectory. Your point of saying, I'm not okay when you're not okay and getting help, or saying, you know what, sometimes life, 80% is enough, right? Like a B gets the job done.
Welcome to the Feel Good Club podcast. This is the place where ambitious working moms learn how to elevate their well-being, increase success in all areas, and create a positive, aligned life. Whether you're here to hear expert interviews or inspiring talks, this is your space to learn and grow. I'm Tia Graham, keynote and TED speaker, best-selling author, and founder of the Feel Good Club community for high-achieving moms. I am an expert in the science of happiness. This show is here to help you feel grounded, happier, and connected to yourself and others. I know you are going to love it. Thank you for being here. Let's dive in. Hi, Anne. Welcome to the Feel Good Club.
I am so excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I'm excited to learn from you and hear about your stories. So your new book, Ambitious Mother, great title, by the way, is coming out. And my first question is, what is the ambition paradox?
Yeah, so this was kind of the first idea that I started working with when I was writing this book, and it came really from all of my client-facing work. And it's this idea that we are told that we have to work in a certain way and mother in a certain way, and it becomes this unsolvable problem, right? That's what a paradox is, an unsolvable problem. And to meet the expectations of modern motherhood and meet the expectations of the modern workforce is literally an unsolvable problem. And what I see women doing is essentially kind of spreading themselves thinner and thinner and thinner, trying to do it to the extent that they are transparent in their own life. Like they don't even exist anymore outside of trying to meet everybody else's needs. And it's making them miserable. But they keep doubling down on the solution of just give more and give more and give more, hoping that that will make it better. And they feel trapped.
Such a beautiful explanation. Where in your research, in your opinion, in your experience, where are these two unrealistic modern ideals coming from? Thinking about how you're supposed to be as a mom and how you're supposed to be as an ambitious career person. And there's, right, these standards that are like, if you do all this and I can't do this, and if I do all this, and so you constantly feel like not enough or failing or not living up. But where's the messaging coming from, and where do you think this is, how it's impacting?
Yeah. And I kind of have two answers for you because where the messaging is coming from is multifaceted. But to start with, right, the problem is that both, like kind of how we're societally defining these things, are treating them as like separate buckets and treating them as if the other doesn't exist, right? So we treat motherhood and work as separate silos, and we have a story that they rob from each other. And the expectations around them are such that you're only doing that thing. But the reality is the world has changed. Women are working. It is not going to hurt your kids to work. In fact, it can be good for your kids, and we can get into that data later. And while women are working, we're actually escalating what we're asking them to do as mothers. So it's not even that they're doing both and they just didn't used to do both. It's, in fact, what I see is the more that women are showing up at work, we as a culture are actually asking them to do more and more and more at home, right? And so we have data that women who are working moms right now are spending more time with their children than at-home moms did in the 70s, right? And that's a huge shift. And not even in the last 10 years, I see it's kind of been exponential in terms of the amount of time, focus, energy, kind of play-oriented stuff that we are supposed to do with our kids to qualify as, quote, a good mom.
It's so fascinating. And I've said more than once, gosh, I should have been a 70s mom or like 80s because I was born in 1980, right? just such differences. And then of course you can go back even to how moms were in the 50s, and yeah, it's so different. So, um, let me ask one question what you said, and then I'll move on. How come working moms are choosing to spend more time with their children? And the research shows that dads are spending more time with their children too, right? Both, but moms more. But how come? Why are we doing this? Because I fall in this bucket for sure.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it is there's a lot of like possibilities. Certainly one is like ideally is we have more reproductive choice. We are choosing to have kids. We are maybe having less kids and want to be more invested in them. And also psychologically, we have more and more understanding of the importance of kind of social emotional learning and the role of parenting in that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that there is this more intentional parenting happening. We want to be involved,
Yeah.
but I think the missed piece sometimes is that we are equating quantity with quality in terms
Yeah.
of our involvement with our kids. And
Right.
that's where the data suggests maybe we're kind of using the wrong metric,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
it's really clear when we look at time studies that the amount of time that we spend with our kids does not actually have any outcomes or any bearing on kind of wellness outcomes. It's the emotional tenor, like the feeling that they have when they are with us. And so if
Right.
we're with them for 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day, but we are present and we are asking them and we are delighting in what they are saying, that's better than spending a few hours with them feeling bored or antsy or restless or stressing about work
Right.
because we haven't actually had any time to like invest in ourselves.
Right. Or haven't invested in our friendships or in our like movement or stillness or all the different things. So you talk about three P's, and I want to talk about two of them. Can you tell me how perfectionism and people pleasing connect for ambitious moms?
Yeah. The big connection is, well, two, fear and disconnection from ourselves. In both cases, people pleasing and perfectionism are both about being afraid of something and focusing on other people's opinions of us. So with perfectionism, it's a fear of making mistakes. Like a lot of people think, "Oh, I'm not a perfectionist. I don't have to get an A plus. I can have an A. That's fine." Right? I probably was that way in high school. Um, but it's not actually about that, right? Perfectionism is more like I can't make a mistake. I can't let people see that I am flawed. Essentially, I can't be a human being. It's like, yeah, I can get an A, but if I got a B, that might as well be an F kind of idea. Um, and it is, again, it's this other people have to see this version of me that is not struggling. And
Mhm.
people pleasing is really similar, actually. It is a fear of upsetting someone else or of disappointing someone else. And it
Mhm.
is, again, I can't do something that someone else would not approve of. And both things are external facing and they take us deeper and deeper away from our own needs, our own wants, our own desires, right? Like both of them are highly focused on do I deserve things rather than do I desire things?
So interesting. As you were talking, I was thinking that I wonder if ambitious moms, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, on ambitious moms, hopefully I'll say this right, people please with their kids because there's a fear of I'm working, so maybe I'm harming them. So I need to make sure that I do a lot for them. And maybe that adds more time. That, like, can you actually want to, whether it's conscious or subconscious, people please your kids maybe because you have mom guilt or etc.
I think that can totally happen. Absolutely, right? Where it becomes, I don't want to disappoint my kid. So I don't do the thing that I maybe need to do for myself. And I totally struggled with this when my kids were little. Like I think a lot of us do this, right? I don't want them to be sad and miss mommy at bedtime. And I kind of want to see them at bedtime, so I won't go out with my friends. Or I won't go to that yoga class because they'll miss me in the morning. Or even little things like I won't make dinner that I like. We'll just have pizza every single night because that's the only thing that they are willing to eat. And all of these are ways of saying everyone else's needs matter more than mine do. And the
Mhm.
problem is that when we make motherhood martyrdom like that, we lose the joy in it, but also it's not good for our kids or us, right? Like it actually deteriorates our own mental health, and our mental health is actually helpful for our children.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, that is my whole message is for working moms to prioritize their well-being, to prioritize their happiness, and to do it even when there's discomfort, right? Like to go to that yoga class or to take that course that you want to take because you're going to get a lot of happiness from that professional development, that learning and growing, etc. And that your kids, of course you benefit, but your kids benefit, from it. Um, so you write and talk about finding your own version of ambition that fits your values. So it seems like there's this like maybe public or societal version of ambition that we see. And so is it hard for in your experience and with all the working moms that you work with for ambitious moms to find their own version of this and feel okay with it and feel good about it? Let's take a quick pause for something that can really support you. If you constantly question if you are good enough as a working mom and desperately want to feel happier, I'd love to invite you to a complimentary discovery call with me. In 45 minutes, we'll get clear on what is out of alignment, what you want your days to feel like, and 2 to 3 simple changes you can make immediately to feel calmer and more confident. It's completely free, and it's a chance for us to connect and see if the Feel Good Club for working moms or one-on-one coaching might support you. To grab a spot, go to tiagraham.com/discovery call. That's tiagraham.com/discovery call and pick a time that works for you.
I think it's hard until you've done it and you realize how much better it actually feels. And the big reframe I ask people to do is that, like, that cultural version that we've been taught about what ambition is that like career ladder, right? Like you climb, it's one rung after the other. And it really only leaves room to be ambitious for title, money, status, kind of these traditional achievement can maybe be on that ladder. And also with that model, if you're not ambitious for those things, you have, quote, fallen off the ladder, right? It's like, it's very, again, very black and white, back to that rigid thinking we were talking about with perfectionism. And
Right.
so what I tell my clients is that instead of thinking about ambition as the ladder, we need to think about ambition as a web. And you can think about a spider web. If you don't like spiders, you can think about like one of those playground webs that like that's my favorite version of it, right? Your kids maybe have played on it. There's kids climbing in every direction and hanging upside down, and maybe someone's like sitting in the corner eating a snack. And that's really what ambition is, right? Ambition is going after something that you really want. And it can be money, it can be power, it can be achievement. Those are great goals. It can also be connection or impact or rest or play or creativity, right? And so once we widen how we're defining ambition, then you don't have to say it's an either or game. It's not ambition or motherhood, it's ambition and motherhood. Ambition because of motherhood. And it gets to weave and change directions as your kids and you grow and change through the process of mothering.
And when you were saying, because the number one predictor of happiness is human connection, this is what the science of happiness, has proven, is that being ambitious about connection, and this could be with your spouse, with friends, with family members, with your kids, of course, on yourself, with yourself as well. It's not something that is visible necessarily, right? Like you said, the title or the money or the awards or the accolades or you name it. But it's realizing that like just what that gives you, and letting go of, yeah, this might be invisible and this isn't something that society is bragging about, but actually we should be, you know,
Yeah.
of how important it is. Um, and then the other thing I thought of is title and money. If you think about like the origins of that, it was not women caring for children and like raising people, right? These are men not primarily focusing on kids. So it's like this ladder that isn't actually our ladder in a way.
Right. Right. And I think sometimes even to add another layer with the money piece, like sometimes the way we are honoring our children is money, and to make some permission for that being on the web, right? That's why I don't think it's even like that those things are bad. Maybe part of what we're doing is ambitious for economic stability to provide it for our children. And that's a
Yeah.
beautiful way of connecting with them and providing so that there's space for all of it. But again, to like you just said, like recognize that original ladder was never ours to climb in some ways.
Right. Right. Yeah. Um, what are the three patterns that keep ambitious working moms stuck or in over functioning mode? What are
Well,
the
and
patterns?
we already got to two of those, right? So the
Okay.
perfectionism and the people pleasing, right? Because with each of those, you're on a bit of a hamster wheel, right? Of like running away from something, and you never actually get any sort of feedback that you've done enough, right? If you think of perfectionism, it's like if anyone can remember their high school math, it's an asymptote, right? Like it's this line that curves
Right.
and curves and curves, but never quite gets to a point where you're done, because you
Right.
can't ever get too perfect. And so you're just continually trying to prove it yourself, improve yourself, improve yourself again. And the same with people pleasing, right? You will never make everybody happy. It's impossible. And so you keep trying and you trying and you're trying, thinking this is an achievable goal, and yet it's not. And the third is pretending. And this goes along with both of them, of saying, whether it's pretending to other people, I have it all together, I don't need help, I'm fine, or pretending to yourself. And I see this a lot of times of women
Mhm.
who are not really seeing how, or don't feel safe to name how unhappy that they actually are. And that keeps them stuck as well. Right. And when we start naming these patterns, then we can start making changes.
So, so important. Immediately you made me think of, we have two children, and our older daughter has a rare profile of autism and has a lot of different, it's been a very challenging parenting journey. And I remember crying to uh one of, like, we've had several, but our autistic parenting coach, and crying about something and saying, like, exactly what you're saying, like, I'm not okay. Like, I want to change. I'm not okay. I feel stuck. And I've always been a working mom. I've never stopped working and I love working. And, she gave me the permission of, like, all right, you're not okay and you want to change. It's time for you to do something about it.
Yeah.
Right. But that admitting out loud of it's not working, you know? Um, and so, yeah, thank you for sharing all of these. So, how can women move from unhealthy striving, and some even get to a place of burnout, right? Into something that's more grounded, sustainable, and I'm going to say happier.
Yeah. Unhealthy striving is at the heart of that ambition paradox, right? So visually, if you think about people pleasing and pretending and perfectionism as like a Venn diagram, and the ambition paradox sits in the middle, that like triple overlap, right? And that's also where unhealthy striving sits. Unhealthy striving feels like you're running away from the tiger, and I just have to keep running because I don't want to get caught. Right. It's that fear. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to disappoint anybody. And there's always a sense with it. I think of like, I'm going to get this next thing and I'll feel better. I'll get the promotion. I'll have the kid. My kid will figure this thing out that's stressing them. They'll sleep through the night. I mean, maybe you will feel better when they sleep through the night, but the idea is like this next thing will happen and then it won't feel like this anymore. And the reality is the next thing happens and it still feels like this because, again, you're not actually going after anything that you want. You're going after things kind of for the sake of it or because you've been told that's what you're supposed to do. With healthy striving, it's a very different embodied experience, right? You might still have really big goals. So often women are told, well, the solution is just have less goals, right? Don't be so ambitious and you'll feel better. Quit your job, downshift. If that's what you want to do, that's amazing. And I'm hugely supportive of that. But I don't think that's a one size fits all solution. And so with
Mm.
healthy striving, it is naming a goal that you're actually invested in. And then all of a sudden you get to enjoy the lead up to it as well, right? The version I use is like, instead of running from the tiger, you're running after the ice cream truck. I really love ice cream, right? So that's where my brain goes. But it's like I'm really excited about getting that ice cream, and also it's kind of fun to run with all the kids down my street and hear the music and anticipate it. And if I have to rest while I'm running after it, it's okay because I know that it'll still be there, right? And so with healthy striving, there's a sense of enjoying the journey. There's permission to refuel. There's permission to make mistakes along the way, right? And learn from them and not feel like it's so high stakes. Um, and you only get there by not engaging in these people pleasing and perfectionism and pretending patterns, right? To your point of saying, I'm not okay when you're not okay and getting help, or saying, you know what, sometimes life, 80% is enough, right? Like a B gets the job done, or of saying, I want this thing and it's going to disappoint someone else. And I can handle that. I can tolerate it. My job is to make that ask. They get to have their feelings about it. Um, and so it is the goal might not even change. And honestly, there may be goals that that are the same, but your mentality of chasing it is very, very different.
Right, right. Immediately I thought of so from Dr. Ben Shahar, who taught positive psychology at Harvard, and I studied with him for a year. He always talked about self-concordant goals of
Mhm.
really making all of the noise, whether it's family, culture, social media, what your friends are doing, and getting just really quiet of like what you want. And so, I wrote that down. And it's interesting because there is such an expectation of things will be so different when I achieve that goal. But so much of our life, probably 99%, is that journey piece, right? And so if the goal isn't yours, and if you're not fully aligned with it, and I know you talk lots about values, um, you probably will be really disappointed when you get there. And then it's going to be, yeah, harder along the way. Um, so if there's someone listening that's thinking, gosh, I don't really know what I want, or how do I figure out what I really want? And I'm an ambitious working mom, and I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I really want to work, but um, I am maybe in that unhealthy striving. Where do you suggest that people start?
Yeah. First of all, to just validate that I think a lot of people are at that spot. And as women, we're really socialized to go there, right? Like from the minute we entered this earth as women, we are told that our purpose is to make everybody else happy, right? We are socialized to people please. We are socialized to be martyrs. And then especially when you become a mother, right? Like we've almost made motherhood and martyrdom synonymous, even though they aren't, right? So you've received so much messaging that your wants don't matter. And I kind of describe it as like an atrophied muscle, right? One that you just essentially haven't used. So you don't know how to. And so just like if you were going to start working out for the first time, you don't start with a marathon, right? You start by maybe doing like a couch to 5K program. Sometimes we have to do that with naming our wants. And so it's going to be like a quiet whisper. It's not going to be like, oh, yes, I've always known I wanted to do this big thing and I never did it. It might be, what do I actually want for dinner? Like that might be a really hard question. Or what do I want to do with the hour of free time I have? Like my kids are 4 kids between the ages of 10 and 17. My weekends do not feel like my own right now, but there's usually at least an hour or two where I can kind of say, hey, I want to do this thing with that time. Um, the other suggestion I have is to just notice what I call the breadcrumbs of joy. Like maybe you can't even notice your wants, but can you notice little things that feel good? Or, another term we can use is glimmers from Deb Dana's work,
Mhm.
right? Is like,
Yeah.
what are the things that feel a little sparkly in your life? And it doesn't have to be like, again, overall, like just total overwhelming joy. It might be like, for me, a big one is having a cup of tea after lunch. I do it every day. I don't do anything. It's like 5 minutes of mindfulness with my cup of tea, and it makes me really happy. It's
Mhm.
not a big thing. Or, when I first started working on my book, it was like, oh, I didn't know I was working on a book. I was just writing. I just had sentences bubble up. And I was like, oh, right. I used to like writing. I used to do a lot of this before I had kids. And this is fun. And I like, let me see what happens with this. It's just
Mhm.
like learning to tune into that feeling, even.
Mhm. Mhm. And I love the exercise, and I want everyone who listens to journal or speak into your phone, right? And capture, what do I actually want in the mornings? What do I actually want during my workday? What do I want in my afternoons, in my evenings, in my weekends? And yes, it's not like, oh, I want to go on a sabbatical to Bali for a month and leave my husband and kids. No, you might want that because you want,
Right.
but like within, you have your career, you have kids, you have house, everything, family, etc. But there's probably a lot of small shifts and things to stop doing or start doing, to just think about, and I love the question also, how do I want to feel?
Yeah.
There were many years, and I don't know if you can relate to this, there were many years where my goal, because I had big career, kids, travel, like everything, my goal was feeling calmer and being calmer, because it was so fast paced. It was so, and I spent several years really focused on that, just slowing down and calm. And I'm so grateful. I definitely feel way calmer than I used to. That, connecting to not just what you want to do, but just how do you want to feel in all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes we can think that we have to like blow up our life to make a change, right? And
Right.
more often than not, what I see is that it is the really small thing that builds. And I like to use the analogy of like a compass, right? One of my boys is super into Boy Scouts, and they go do like orienteering practice, right? Where they take a compass and they're in the woods, and it's like point your compass to 25 degrees and take 10 paces. Now, for 10 paces, if are at 30 degrees instead of 25, they're going to still get to the same tree. Like it's not a big deal. But my airline pilot and my like transatlantic flight is off by 25 degrees. We will land in an entirely different country. It's a good or bad thing, depending, right? And so that's the kind of shifts that 1 degree compass change doesn't feel like much in the moment, but it's the thing that starts you down a whole different trajectory. And a year down the road could land you in a very different place and have a very profound impact if you
Mhm.
learn to just trust the process a little bit.
Yes, yes, I love that. You're inspiring me to do some more journaling. So, what are 3 things? You mentioned a cup of tea. What are 3 additional things that you do as an ambitious mother of 4 that help you feel good?
Great question. Um, so I lift weights most mornings. I fell in love with that probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it is like my mentally happy place. Like,
Okay, how do you lift weights most mornings? I want to hear what you do.
well, I wait. I do wake up at 5 and do it before the kids get up. That would, and I say this with a bit of a pause because if when I had little kids, that would not have been an option.
Absolutely. You're in
Right.
a different phase. Yes.
My youngest is 10, so if they wake up, which they rarely choose to do before 6 in the morning, they can entertain themselves and it's fine, right? And so when they were little, that was not an option. There were other things I did. But yeah, I mentioned my cup of tea. I also just really love even if it's 5 minutes, family dinner, sometimes with all of their activities, it
Oh
is
yeah.
only two or three or one of the kids, but to have like at least 5 minutes of conversation where most of us are together and again, when they were little, family dinners were not necessarily that experience. There's a lot of wonderfulness. I mean, people always tell you you'll miss the little years, and I do in some ways, but gosh, parenting tweens and teens is rewarding in a lot of ways. I love it. So that's another really positive thing. And then taking a walk every night with my husband after dinner. We have a dog. We take him for a walk together, and like that's our time, separate from the family time, and it's 10 minutes. It's something we have to do, right? It's like multitasking. The dog needs to go out, but we get to do it together most nights, and it's a nice little chance for us to just connect too.
That's a great one. One of the working moms that I know through my daughter's soccer team, her and her husband go for a walk right after their kids fall asleep. So
Ah,
you're like,
no, their kids
yeah,
will actually sleep for a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
your kids probably aren't going to get kidnapped. You know, we do live in we live in Orange County in California, so it is quite safe. But I was like, oh, that's cool too, of just, thinking about that. Um, well, thank you for sharing that. And where can people go to connect with you and learn more?
Yeah, Dr. Ann Welsh is my website. It's also my Instagram handle is Dr. Ann Welsh. I'm also on LinkedIn as Dr. Ann Welsh. So you can learn about my services. And then the book Ambitious Mother is available anywhere that books are sold. And right now there's some amazing pre-order bonuses that you can get access to right away if you order the book before its release date on August 6th.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and thanks for all the great work that you do for ambitious moms.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great, fun conversation.
Thank you for joining me on the Feel Good Club show. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired and equipped to take on your day with confidence, self-love, and joy. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow ambitious working moms. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. We're all here to support each other in feeling good and living our best lives. Until next time, take care and be hopeful. And remember, prioritize your happiness.